Do you know what that is?
Of course I know what it is, but I ain't gonna tell them, man. I'm gonna do it for myself, you know. But
oh, man.
How's things, man? Man,
oh my goodness,
so much to catch up on. But tell me about what's been happening with you. Talk about the raw sessions. I've been telling people about that. They're hoping to get a bit more information about that.
Oh yeah, sure, man. Look, in terms of raw, man. So what that is for people who are watching, I know that you posted that video of the raw session, so people probably saw a glimpse of it. At the moment, it's just for men. I have done classes for women before, and I have women who ask me, who've asked me a lot, and I've actually got another one coming up for women, just for women, but it's mostly the majority of the classes are just for men, and it's basically a platform where I get them in an unjudged space. As the viewers may have seen, it's in near the beach and everything. It's in Maroubra. It's in the morning on Saturday morning in Maroubra, and they're all at the beach. We've got these big speakers, these big portable speakers. It fucking blurs out the sound. I'm allowed to swear, right?
Yeah, fucking my show, baby. You can say what the fuck you want.
Sorry,
it's alright.
I didn't want to push the let me down to the red, you know?
It's alright.
My boy. That's the way it should be, man. Especially with you. So look, basically, bro, what it's about is when you're in the company of just men, and everyone just feels, because I set the rules at the beginning, and I say that there's two rules. The first rule is no one judges anyone, and that means don't judge yourself. So whenever, because basically in this thing we have people in context what the class is about. It's a dynamic meditation, guided meditation class it goes for an hour. And basically what that means is there's traditional meditation where you're sitting and you're thinking about breathing or gratitude or whatever, but there's also cathartic type meditation, which is releasing. So that's why it's called raw, because there's a moment where I actually get the guys to raw and let everything out.
Yeah.
And there's one called catharsis, where they're really just moving their body in the most erratic way and allowing everything to kind of come out that way. And I take him through a range of exercises, but the underlying tone of that is that it's about allowing the guys to release, right? And then when I say those rules, the first rule is we don't judge anyone, including ourselves. It's kind of finally the guy feels safe to just be who he needs to be, and not feel scared that he's going to hurt someone else or he's going to piss someone else off or whatever. It's a beautiful thing, you know. And then when you say, and then the second rule, just fucking have fun, man. If you feel like laughing, if you feel too serious, then laugh. You know, you don't have to the actual outcome of this is joy. You know, so if you feel joy, if you have premature joy, then have some premature joy. You know what I mean? So
that's a good way to put it.
So with those rules in mind, the guys just they just feel like they're in a really good, safe, fun space. And we turn up the music, and it's got Rage Against the Machine, it's got DMX, it's got all the classics.
All your playlists.
My playlist. So and yours. So allowing them to release everything is a beautiful thing, because I invented this for guys who are depressed, actually, but the majority of the guys who come are not depressed.
So that was my next question. You invented this? Is something you got taught and you kind of made it your own?
I think I would say I invented it.
Yeah.
But I actually don't.
If it's yours, take it, man.
Yeah, but I would say I don't even call myself the owner, though. Here's why. Yeah. There's two reasons why. So how I came to make this, right? I thought about I thought about the clients I was serving at that time. And at that time, I think it's because I came from a lot of depression, that my initial clients were guys who also had depression. And I basically drew, right, you would understand this of all people. I was in Rouse Hill, I was in a cafe, and I had my notebook, and I drew, okay, well, energetically, where is their energy at the beginning of the raw session? Well, it's probably going to be around here. And where do I want their energy to go? Maybe to like around up here. So how do you move someone energetically from here to here? Well, I thought maybe what you got to do first is you got to spike the energy first, you know, and then you got to ground it. So basically, then the net result of that process is it gets grounded on like a higher level than you started. So I drew out that like energetic map of what I wanted to do with their energy, and then I thought about all the mentors and teachers that I've come across. So that's like, you know, Elliot Hulse, Tony Robbins, like Vipassana, like just everything I knew. And that's why like I almost don't take credit for it, because like all I did was I rolled the best things
that you learned.
Into a thing that I thought was going to get the guys the outcome. And like the testimonials, I think, speak for themselves, and that the guys are saying...
What are some of the testimonials?
I think... Oh, fuck, man.
But what is some of the feedback that you do get, like, just in general?
They say stuff like, it's releasing, it's resetting, it's cleansing. They use words like that. Yeah. They say it's a really good blend of exercise. Like, doing it in that format's really good. Yeah. So like I just get guys breaking... I get, like... There's one of the boys, and I think you know him. Yeah. He's about to IPO his company like next week for like $25 million. He's just like a bit older than us. Like he's super high performer. He's not depressed. He's a solid dude. But he broke down and cried during the raw session, and he was like, "Fuck, I didn't even know what I was holding in inside." Yeah. You know, and so like it allows them to like reset, like release and reset, and then finally refocus, because after you do all those crazy exercises, when you go into the more like the Wim Hof breathing, the gratitude, the goals, like the stuff like that, fuck man, you really like recenter as a man. And I'm willing to say I fluked it, you know, how I blended those things together. But
you just followed your energy, you just followed what felt right?
I felt like my hand drew itself.
Yeah,
man.
And you were talking about depression, man. What's your take? Like, I know like what depression is, but I think people have different views of it, in the sense of, is it something like you kind of it's kind of self-manifested, or is it something that's actually exists? You know, is it just something that, you know, we're just kind of where we've created this idea because of what we're going. It's like, I'm going through depression. These are just conversations I've had over time, you know, and there's all these views, and it's just something that obviously you mentioned you went through, and you kind of found this outlet, right? So what do you put it down to in the end, now where you are now?
Oh man,
at the level of, when you look back at when you were like that, do you know, in that state of mind?
Dude, well, two things. One is I really want to hear your opinion on the same question. So I'll give you my answer, but I definitely want to hear yours. Like, so look, my take on it is like, surely at a biological level, like I haven't, you know, like done the studies into the chemistry and stuff that can happen at a biological level, and some people like they develop it as a medical condition, and I don't think even anyone really knows at a deep scientific level why that's occurred. What I would say, how I've experienced it, is in two ways. One is created by my own mind, and then the other one is something that just happens in my physiology, and I even to this day I don't know exactly the root of that. Like looking back to my first experiences, so 14 to 21 I was having like suicidal depression, like every winter in high school. And I remember like looking back now, at 14 I started to get sinusitis, and sinusitis, you don't because of the infection, you don't breathe very well, like you would know about this. You don't breathe very well while you sleep, so you wake up and you're tired as a motherfucker. And then if you have an unguarded mind, then what can happen is like that like the tired energy can translate into your thoughts, and your thoughts aren't as bright as they normally are. You know, and then if you're not conscious enough to be aware of your thoughts, that thing can go in a negative spiral like real quick. And so that's really what was happening to me. And then when I came across Tony Robbins and stuff, he talks about the importance of keeping a strong a strong state, and always keeping yourself in the best state possible. And what Tony means by state is like how you're feeling, and like mentally and emotionally how you feeling. And he shows you how to change your state, and he goes, the 3 ways to change your state is like, you want to change what you're focusing on, change the meaning that you're giving to what you're focusing on, and then also like change the meaning of your situation, and then also change your physiology. So like changing what you're doing with your body. So obviously for me, I didn't know, so I was focusing on bad things. I was creating a bad story in my head about it, and my physiology was fucked because I wasn't breathing enough. So that combination puts you in a bad state.
Choices and
I would say energetically, like if you're in that like vibration, like I hope we don't lose people when I talk about this shit. No. When you're in that vibration, of course you're gonna like resonate with even more of those bad thoughts, and then that shit goes down. So like I would say that to answer your question, like I have definitely found how important it is to proactively manage your state, like state management. Like how do you keep your, like what can you do every morning to put yourself in the best state possible? Like set yourself up for success. Like that's one piece of it. But then the other piece of it is what I've learned in Vipassana, which is like when you're in Vipassana and you're like you can experience that there is like that feeling of depression that can come in you, that energy. But when you become aware enough, you're aware enough to go, okay, there is that energy within me, and it seems to be more. It's not as dormant as it normally is. It seems to be a bit more active at the moment, and like, but you learn to just observe it without letting it feed into your thoughts. And so I'm not sure if that answered your question very well.
And with Vipassana, form of meditation.
Vipassana is a 10-day meditation camp in the Blue Mountains. You can do for free. So
No, that answers my question, and that's why I found it interesting, is because I would say I would think about it a similar way. It's just, even with choices and the choices you make, I think if you're in the worst state of mind physically and even mentally, I think your outlook on life and your projection of life is going to be an example of how you're actually feeling inside. So
correct.
Like I've done enough meditation to know how to kind of venture off on my own. I don't probably do it as much as I could, but I do go and do meditation and yoga twice a week. So I like those days when I go in the morning, like I realize, like even just going into it and then finishing and then walking out, like I always message my wife, like, and I just tell her like, what I'm feeling, like, at that moment. I message her every single time, and like how I go in, like, I always think with everything, with with what I'm doing with Mercenary Entertainment and everything, I know where I'm heading. Like I'm confident. For me, there's a direction, right?
Yes.
But sometimes, when you're aching or, like you just get up in the morning, and whatever it is, you're tired, you've been a long day, and you get up. You don't know how relaxed and how on track you are sometimes till you put your body in that state of mind. So going into yoga, going into meditation, going through that whole process and coming out feeling really good, even just that 10-15 minutes of meditation at the end, allowing myself to just focus on what is it that I'm trying to do, just walking out. Like I tell people, like, when I mean like I feel like an animal, it's not in such a angry and whatever, it's that I'm confident that I'm doing what I should be doing. And it's just like, like I'm confident, and I'm confident in myself, and I'm confident that who I am as a person and what I'm trying to do is genuine, and so it's just all these other, I've been focusing a lot on just mental clutter lately, like just
reducing mental clutter.
Yeah, reducing mental, not just me in general, but.
So can I ask, how much time do we have? Time?
Plenty of time.
All right, awesome,
Don't worry,
awesome.
man.
So we can just
Don't
chat.
worry. Yeah.
Awesome.
Like
Love you,
man, this is the first. You think I'm gonna give you like a short time frame? Come on, man, please.
But tell me, yeah. But by the way, where do you do this yoga class?
Rassel Yoga Bar. I just go there for like till I obviously even like I've done different things. So I did even shout out to Ricky. He introduced me to Qigong, and shout out to Dan Anthony as well. He was the one, and that had implementations of Wim Hof. Is it Wim Hof?
Yes,
saying it right? Yeah. And man, and I did that. I recently had my debut amateur boxing fight, and a couple of months ago, and I did this is the first time I did it prior to even just competing or fighting, but just in general. And then that changed my whole I think I amount that and just what I went through, the process of training and what I went through for that boxing fight, to just making my decisions that I've made since then, leaving work full time.
Good on you, man.
After 13 years, I'm 32 now, and
we've got so much to talk about.
Yeah, I was 19, I literally put it down to all that, and because I've never done anything in my life that has ever made me feel in that level of state of mind, where I feel like I'm just levitating, because and it's just it's I don't know, it's a whole bunch of things. It's reassurance, it's
when
confidence.
Is it time? What time is it, man?
No, this is I'm talking about when I did Qigong. This happens during the week, so you can just
I'll come.
So I go on Mondays. What do you know what
time?
At 9:30, and on Thursdays 9:45.
Man,
But shout out to my yoga teacher Diane as well. She's really really good, man.
So man, I'm just 9:30.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, because I'm. You don't know this. I'm about to move to Milson's Point.
Oh, yeah?
with Anna. So
nice.
yeah. Thanks,
man.
So I've got 2 weeks left in the hills.
Yeah.
So
might as well make the most of it. Hell yeah, you love Thursdays, man. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got
it's heavy. It's
9:30 in the morning.
Thursdays is 9:45. Mondays is 9:30.
Dude, I'll be there for both.
Yeah.
You're there, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. I'm really glad. Okay, thank you, man. Sorry,
no.
I interrupted.
But no. Yeah. So, going back to what we're talking about. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is. It's a bit of everything. I think it affects you physiology, but I think it translates from just a state of mind, and then it's just some people have outlets. That's why my outlets just with training and all that, and I use that, so kind of a healthy way. But
nice.
What led you, man, into all this? I know that you had all these, I guess, suicidal tendencies, and you went through depression. But for those that don't know,
yes.
Talk about what you do now, with your life full time, and
so for those of you who are listening, like Jana, so Jana's working for 13 years, I think you said. So I worked in corporate for 8 years. Yeah. I left corporate. I finished up at PwC in April of this year. And I now full time I coach. I specialize in coaching men. I just call myself a personal coach. What I help guys with mostly is creating a breakthrough in their life. Meaning some guys come to me because they're in emotional turmoil. Are upset after a breakup or something like that. Some guys come to me because they just don't know what to do with their life. Some guys come to me because they've achieved the things they want to achieve, but they don't feel fulfilled. So those are the reasons they often come to me. One of our mutual friends who I coach, with him, he achieved a whole bunch of stuff. He was so financially well off that he could spend 14 months off work. But after but during that period, he couldn't really figure out what to do with his life. And now he's, I don't know if you caught up with it, but he's nicely well on track now. So that's what I do now. So I do one-on-one coaching. I run men's retreats once a month, which I got to have you on one of them. And that's about, the men's retreats are just for 9 guys plus me overnight. And what we do is, we really break the guys down into figuring out exactly inside what it is they want to do with their life, and then we create that vision, and then we understand one, and you will know this, one, you have to like have a vision of what you want to achieve with your life, you know, if you want to achieve something.
Yeah.
But two, you have to be you have to grow into the type of person that can achieve that vision. Like there's a character transformation that you have to go through to be the type of person that can achieve the vision. So once we figure out what their vision is, which already is a big step for them, based on like insight at a very deep level, what they really value, like what really makes them fulfilled, what really they feel meaningful in the entire life to do, then we go to work on, well, how do we transform this guy into the character, into the person that he needs to become to actually achieve this vision. And I'll give you just like a very quick, like, so I'm going on a bit of a tangent.
No, go for it, man.
I'll say something like,
ain't no rules here, man.
Yeah, I'll say something pretty dope that I think you're gonna like. So think about this, right? Like, you'll know this from meditation stuff. A human being, like, we have our conscious energy or spirit energy or whatever, right? We have the life energy that animates our body, and then that energy, where like it's above your head or it's in your body, wherever it is, right? But that energy has to meet the world, and the way that energy meets the world is through the eyes, the nose, the mouth, like, you know, through our senses. That energy meets the world, and then the inputs from the world come back to us, and they come back to us and they get interpreted by our brain. And you would know, I would imagine, like in our brain around here we have something called the reticular activating system, which is like it's almost like a network hub that all the inputs go through. And what that does, because there's too much stimulus right here, like our brain needs to know what to focus on. So what the reticular activating system does is it deletes out a whole bunch of shit that we don't believe is relevant to focus on. So that's why like Dim and Jana could be at the same party or watching the same concept, but we have different views on like what went down. You know what I mean? And so because like based on our ego, which is like our sense of self, and based on the paradigm that we have of the world, which is like our worldview, we will filter the shit that we receive, right? But then that means that like where someone will see an opportunity, Dim won't. If Dim's got a different view of the world, right? So what we then do is we teach them, well, how do we change the sense of self? So for example, if you don't think you're worthy, then you're not gonna go and try to shake Tony Robbins' hand, you know. But someone else who thinks he's worthy, because I remember, bro, I was at UPW 3 years in a row. UPW 3 years in a row, I shook Tony Robbins' hand, right? And like, thing is, you're here. There's fucking 6,000 people, right, or at least 3,000 if you're in the middle, right, between you and Tony, right? But I'm like, I want to shake that motherfucker's hand, right, right? But if you fucking believe, this is, you know this because you're a fighter. If you fucking believe you can do it, bro, it doesn't matter there's 3,000 people. You will just push, you slide, right? And you know what? And then he turns away and he goes that way, but you just stay there because you just believe he's gonna come back. And then he comes back and you reach out your hand and you shake his hand, right? And but I remember being next to a guy at UPW who's my friend who was like, no way, there's no way, right? But so same situation, same circumstances. I made the possibility happen. He didn't, because of a different paradigm and belief system. You know, and so therefore it's like, well, how do we? So once you realize all that shit, once you realize what you want to achieve, well, how do we actually adapt your paradigm and your sense of yourself to like vibrate with the same level as that vision, you know? And then we have 8 weeks of follow-up calls with the whole group of dudes. Like, and we take them through the affirmations and it's like fucking deep shit, you know, every morning, like every night, brainwashing these guys to like transform, and we track them, and then you transform as a result, and you start to exhibit. So, and a beautiful example, this is the last thing I'll say about it is, thanks man, like, think about this, right? Let's say that Jana believes that he's shit at maths, right?
I am Bob, right?
Right. Well, I was in the same situation, right? So peep this one time, right? Peep this one time.
My brother and my dad got the skills, right? For the maths, passed on me. Alright,
peep this, right? You know what a feedback loop is? Alright, so like, you know, on a dance floor.
Oh yeah.
When the dance floor is, I think you and I started a dance floor once from memory. Like, this is when we first ever met, I think. Right? It was to the next episode. It was like, I think I remember. So, dance floor is empty, right? Now, a feedback, so in life, there's cause and effect, right? A feedback loop is when so cause leads to effect. A feedback loop is when effect leads back into cause. So what does that all mean? Think about a dance floor. On a dance floor, if there's no one on the dance floor, right, and one guy goes on the dance floor, that is a cause. And what is the effect of one going on the dance floor? Other people want to go dance,
floor,
right? Yeah. So they go dance, right? And then that basically leads back into the cause. Now more people on the dance floor. Other people see it. Now they want to go dance, right? And it loops and loops and loops and loops. And so the cause leads to the effect leads back to the cause, and it loops and loops. That's the feedback loop. Now, think about this. Let's say young Dim, then this is true, but this is a true story. Alright, actually it happened when I was in year 12. In year 11, I had a fucking phenomenal English teacher and a fucking phenomenal maths teacher. And so in year 12, I did 4 maths and 4 English. But in year 12, my maths teacher left, right? He was like the vice principal, he left. The replacement teacher I got was a shit cunt. God bless his soul. So like, I'm excelling at English because I got this fantastic teacher, but I got this shit maths teacher. So I'm starting to do shit at maths, right? I'm not trying to blame him. I'm trying to blame the motherfucker, but like, I wasn't doing that well, right? But then I created a little thought in my mind. I didn't mean to, but the little thought in my mind was, oh fuck, maybe I'm not as good as maths as I am at English, right? So when you have that little thought that maybe you're not as good, then you don't try as hard in your study or in your exam as if you fucking believe you're the best writer in the world, right? Then that effect leads back into the cause, and then you go into your next exam, you don't do as well. And then that feeds back into the effect, which is like, oh fuck, maybe I'm not as good as maths. Right? And you just keep looping, you keep looping, right? And then what happened is, I got into aeronautical engineering in Sydney Uni first year. And I was like, but fuck man, I just fucking aced 4 in English and I'm shit at maths. I dropped out of 4 in maths in year 12. I'm shit at English. And then uni, fuck uni man. Like I struggled so much at uni, right? So like because that teaching system was not right for me, but I didn't know. So I'm just thinking I'm a shit cunt at so I should have said that word. I'm shit at maths, right? So I'm thinking I'm shit at maths. So it leads to a downward spiral. I drop out of engineering. I scrape out of uni with a commerce degree, and I become a project manager. And they were actually at my work. They were like, you know what, this is great that you don't have technical abilities, because we need someone with soft management skills. And the way that we like our project managers is not to have technical ability. So from that, I'm thinking, you know what? No, I'm not good at technical stuff. I'm good at the people stuff. I'm not good at the technical stuff. So 8 years down the track, I honestly believed I was shit at technical and good at thing, right? Because this little feedback loop, right? But then when it came to launching this business, I had to become good at some technical skills, just like you've had to become good at podcasting, right? Yeah. And so I had to use the concept I'm talking about on myself to start going, well, how do you change that characteristic? Because it's literally just a characteristic, and a characteristic is not who you are. So I'm like, how do you change that? Well, how you change that is I got to start believing that I'm fucking good at technical skills. And then I got to try really hard. And then when you try really hard, you're going to get some results, you know. And then you're going to be like, oh shit, maybe I'm not that bad at technical. Loop. And now I'm fucking good at technical. So,
but do you find that even with that, like, there has to be a genuine interest in it as well?
110%.
You know, like, because I always think, you know, even with just school and like, you know, the system, like, I had an interesting conversation with someone not too long ago about the idea of even just like when you're in high school, and I guess it's not for everybody, but you know, especially with, I guess, like ethnic cultures and strong, you know, with family foundation, and where you know that kind of you know, like, you know, generate, you know, for them, like our like parents' generation, the choices were so limited. So it's not like they had the openness to go and kind of search what they want to do like we do, right? But even in high school, like, I feel like you already think a lot of people, generally, and most people, thinking about uni already because that's what you feel like is waiting for you next.
Correct.
You know, whereas I feel like, you know, now that we're past our 30s, you look back and you think, man, I didn't even know who I was as a person, like, you know what I mean, till much later on. Yeah. And I feel like not knowing that and trying to figure that out, if you don't know that, everything else is just... It's just facade, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always just think, like, you know, it's almost written for you. Life is written for you for so long till you kind of make, you know, it comes down to your own choice. Unless you're nurtured that way, it's really your own choice.
Yeah,
you know
man.
What I mean? And is it too late by then, or is it, you know? And I mean, it's not. But what I mean is, like, I always think, imagine your 14s and 15s and 16s, and you know that
you don't know shit,
right?
right?
Yeah. And like, imagine if you kind of get, you know, you got nurtured differently. It's not such a blame thing. What I mean is, it's just, I think, as just humans growing and evolving, that in your head, a lot of things are just systematic, and your future is almost written for you. For a lot of people,
that's what you think.
Yeah, that's what you think. Sorry, yeah. Not that it is. Yeah.
No, look, what I you've surely heard of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that book?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I only started properly reading because of you, so
God bless you.
I'll hold that to you, my man.
I love you. I love you,
used
man.
to give
God
me the good books to read. The one that you mentioned actually in your...
Preach. The Way of the Superior Man.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, bro. That was it. That was the game changer. When I read... Game changer in the sense, like, it was the first time I really... I'm a very visual person. And
sure.
Like, you know, that's just me. And that's what I've learned to kind of, you know, I think a bit... you know, figure out about myself, but visually I see things that I could learn. Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm visual. I'm visual and kinesthetic.
So with books, unless I have an interest in it, like, you know, But that was something, Anyway, but it was just because you mentioned it.
On what you were saying just then, right? In The Way of the Superior Man, one of the things he says that as a man, like, or as a masculine, it's not really as a man. It's for masculine energy. Men and women have masculine. It's for everyone who has masculine energy. The masculine in you needs to go on that soul searching journey, unless you are gifted, like to somehow know, like Connor or MJ or whatever, like that they knew it was going to be basketball, they knew it was going to be like fighting. But for the rest of us, we've got to like for me, you know, I fucking went to Africa. Like, I did all this crazy shit to like get.
You gotta tell people about that too. We'll get to that.
We're gonna have a good chat, man. But we. Like, you got to do what's required, and typically what that looks like is getting away from the distractions and going into the wilderness or just into the unknown, because that's where you find yourself, you know, so to speak, and you like going through that journey helps you find what Stephen Covey in 7 Habits he calls your second blueprint. So he goes, your first blueprint is like what your parent, like what you were saying, like what your parents say, you're 16, 17, like your parents are saying that you need to like, you need to fucking work, go to high school, go to uni, work, get married, have kids, and shut the fuck up. Like, that's like the script, you know? Like, and that's their blue.
That last bitch.
It's true though, right? Like, bro, you got kids, shut the fuck up. That's it, you know? But that is the script. And the thing is, like, that is what Stephen Covey calls the first blueprint, which is like what society told you, like, is the script for you, the story for you. But at some point, and Tony Robbins calls this the pain threshold, because he goes, there's two forces that drive a human being, pain and pleasure. So we either do shit to get away from pain or get towards pleasure, and we typically do more to get away from pain than to get towards pleasure. When you hit a threshold of pain, when you've had a fucking enough of that first blueprint, that it's only then that you start to open up and go, well, what the fuck do I really want to do? You have to hit that pain threshold. And at that time, you can design your second blueprint. And your second blueprint is like, well, okay, fuck society. What do I want to do? You know? And that's where you go on that soul-searching journey and do that, whatever that is for you, to figure out. And going back to your original question, do you have to have a genuine interest? Yeah, I would say so. Like, or a genuine necessity. Genuine interest or genuine necessity? Yeah. Like, where you're just like, you know what? Like, I've gone through, like, my soul searching or whatever now. this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
You know, and from that comes
Yeah.
the genuine interest.
Because like the reason I say that, bro, is because like if, for example, you know, you take the corporate world. You've been in the corporate world. I'm in the corporate world, right? I feel like I worked myself to a point where it's like, if all those things that I thought was success growing up, or like, you know, like just the money and being able to have that, you know, that foundation, family, whatever it is, I'm cheering, because in my 20s I feel like I've achieved it, you know what I mean? But then there's that, like, how do you explain that dissatisfaction you have in your life? It's like, well, you know, like, even like I felt like a lot of it came from the back of even my lifestyle of, you know, even having training, work. Like, I felt like, okay, but then I looked back and I thought, well, am I depending on fighting or, you know, training for fights as my outlet? But what happens when that goes? What's going to be my outlet? Am I going to, you know what I mean? Like, almost seems like that it was a system. It was a system in my day to allow me to get through the day,
Sure.
get up and go through what I got to go through in that window.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know,
But what happened?
but it was just like, you know, it's like, well, I feel like I'm, you know, all the choices. Well, the one thing that I put it down to, where I felt like, you know, I had to just own up and be like, a lot of these things that I've done in my life was just validation. It was what I thought I needed to do. And I thought I was doing the right thing based on monetary value. And that being the bar as to how well I'm doing in my life. Not saying that was all means, but along the way I always, you know, was training, and, you know, I got into kickboxing and I loved what a game. So for me, it always kept me, you know, kind of that sense of like, I am who I am. And the years go, because I always found an outlet. You know what I mean? And after getting through like my last, like my boxing fight, I thought to myself, like, what if I can put this kind of energy into life, into what I want to get up and do, you know? And because clearly I've shown myself that I'm willing to go through whatever it takes. And, you know, what everyone else says, that people were there. What I did for myself, like, it was a most amazing experience, and I did it in such a short time frame, you know, but it was a goal that I set because I believed it. And it was funny, in January, like, you know, you're getting beat up and everything, but in my head, I knew by the time March came around, I'd be ready. And it's funny because I got addicted to the process. I knew that I felt like I was giving my all, so by giving my all, I know that the result's going to come, because I knew I was giving my all.
Yeah.
But in other aspects, whether it's work or whatever, you know what I mean? You know when you're giving your all, and I knew I wasn't. So it's not the money, it's not that, you know what I mean? What is it? You know, and it's the satisfaction. I was like, am I doing what I want to do though? Because I'm inside these four walls thinking about all of this, when, you know what I mean, when I could easily just be happy. But it's that battle. It's like, well, you're lying to yourself because you're not happy.
You really brought tears to my eyes, man.
Yeah, so it was like, I realized it was just validation. It's like, all my life, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, like going in and out of TAFE, doing marketing, doing all this shit, because I was forcing myself to love it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you were saying, like, you almost, like, you tell yourself, okay, you know, I'm going to kill marketing, and then 2 terms come and I'm like, fuck this shit. You know what I mean? And it just kept happening, and then it's like the pressure of, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with your life? You're getting to work. But what I realized from working was that I was good with practical. If someone said, hey, Jana, this is how you do it, oh, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, right, yeah, that was your learning.
So that was my kind of thing. So then I just went and learned different things, and that's how I just moved around the corporate ladder. But it's because I was good at learning, like, practical stuff. Like, they taught me technical stuff, then I would learn it. But it wasn't because the interest was there, it's because I got to learn this. This is my job, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just a different, but then, I just realized that it was all just for validation. It was all because I felt like I needed to do this so that I didn't feel like, you know, that I was going to amount to nothing. But really, I feel at this point that I haven't even lived my best life yet. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
I'm
man.
like,
And there was something, like, very powerful, I think, in what you said there, was like, before you were going to training, you know, or whatever it was, to help you get through the rest of the shit. It was almost like an anchor or whatever for you. But that's like a nice, like, rudimentary place to start. Like, when we think about where we both came from, you know, just for you to come across, like for you, like initially it was rapping from memory, right? Then it was training.
Like music and stuff.
It was music. Then it was training. Given where we came from, that was a fucking good start. To start to do the music every morning or the rapping every morning or even
well, it was just writing. I mean, because I never it was actually just writing. I just used to write like a diary. That's how I started for 3 years, man.
Isn't that beautiful, man? Because like to get yourself out of just that complete like, you know, because we were in a similar place, like just out of that place, it was just that little thing you started to do, you know, like ebbing in the writing or that just that new energy into your life, and then like, but I remember because like for people watching or whatever, is that recording by the way?
Hell yeah, man.
Sweet like
Well, better be anyway. Shit. I don't think I can do this again, man. I need like a month to just recoup.
Man. We have conversations like this all the time, but like. Actually, that's what I was gonna say. Like every time we spoke, you know, like we always had a good conversation. But I remember, I was so blessed because I watched your transformation happen. I feel like I got to watch it because I remember like what you were like, you definitely brought all the best parts of you with you. That's for sure. But like I remember what you were like. But then I remember you started to get into, it must have been writing. But then for me, like you started talking about rapping and stuff and the music. And you finally had like this thing, like this outlet to like let everything out. Like finally be yourself, I feel. Maybe that's what was really going on there. Funnily enough, like that's what Raw's about. Fucking full circle.
I think it's just, like everything in your head, like just having a healthy way to pour whatever is in your head or whatever you're experiencing, just having an outlet. That's why I always go back to mental clutter. I just feel like we don't even just think about it enough in the sense that we have so much going on in our head that you don't even know what it's like to just slow it all the fuck down to a point that you can have control. And that's what, you know, kickboxing did, you know, and shout out to, you know, Team Mad and Glenn and David. When I went to that gym, my whole life changed because I was like, you know what? It's not that all this craziness is not still going on. It's that I felt like I had control and I could slow it down and just be like, have a different perspective and have a chance to just be like, okay, you know, where am I heading and where do I want to go and who do I want to be? Just having time to really sit down and just be appreciative of that. You know what I mean? So
beautifully said.
And you know, like that's what it did to me. Like and like anyway, I didn't want me to stop you.
No,
but
that was really well said.
But like that, it just became an outlet. But you know, but then I enjoyed that process, and I enjoyed just. It's funny, like I always say, I love toying with life or death, and I don't mean that in a actual sense, but you know, with training, like that point of like you're gonna be defeated.
Yeah.
I love getting to that point because I just feel like it's not even just it's all your thoughts that's going through your head. You're just letting it all out. That's what I did at training. I just let everything that was going through me, every pad I hit, every person I sparred, every conditioning, you know, whatever it is that I just let my thoughts, I don't block it. I let it run through my body. But afterwards, it was just like therapy, man, you know, because I realized that that's all it is, you know. Everything's it's irrelevant. I started to realize a lot of things were irrelevant, way more irrelevant than I made it out to be. You know, and
in perspective,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, so. I'm gonna end up crying before the end of the conversation. Like this is amazing.
Anyway, going to happy times, but I didn't want to forget about it. But man, I know, like back in the day, like especially before you got into all this with your business and stuff, you were really like, and you probably still are, but big on like, you know, just your charity and even just going. You went over to Kenya and you went over to Costa Rica. Tell us some. Man, they need to know,
it's
man.
It's actually very linked to what we just talked about. Believe it or not, because your perspective on what you just said was like by allowing that healthy outlet for all the mental clutter, what was going on. It gave you like space and it gave you a new perspective. My take, like, I hope you can feel me on this. So my take on when I observed you, and this is linked to the whole Costa Rica thing. My take on what I observed about you, my bro, was like, see, we all have we can all act with different energies. You know, you've probably heard that thing which is like, you know, within us we have two wolves. One wolf is a fucking bad cunt, and one wolf is like really good.
Yeah.
One wolf is like full of love and all this shit, and one wolf is like, you know, full of anger and all this shit, and they're always fighting each other. And then in the story, like, the question gets asked, oh, which wolf wins the fight? And then he goes, well, it's the wolf that you feed. You know, so we either feed like the good wolf or we feed the bad wolf or whatever, right? So like, in the same way, like, think about this hypothetically, right? Let's say that in like this interview right now, Jana decided to be angry, right? And let's say after this interview, rest of the day, Jana decided to be angry. Every opportunity Jana could, Jana decided to act on the energy of anger. Then tomorrow, same thing. You go to get your coffee, you just call the barista a motherfucker. Right? Like, you just
Call
being
the
angry. Oh man, it was, man, if this wasn't a podcast, it was gonna stand up. You know what I mean?
Some of your examples, bro, it's questionable, but I'm gonna let you slide.
Alright, man. So sorry, I over did knock the mic. So but give it 2 weeks time. You just acting on anger all the time, acting on anger. Would you agree that your life would just be a fucking angry place?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think in the same way, your intent and your inner voice is also an energy. So I think what was happening there, in my take on it, is like, first you started writing, then you started rapping, and you started fighting. What you were doing in that process was, for the first time, you were slowly putting the energy of your intent and your spirit and your life into like your life. Who you really, you feel me, right? And then over time, that's just accrued, it's like snowboard. And now then a point came for you where you're like, man, fuck work, like fuck corporate, like this is what I gotta, this is who I really am. And like what we've witnessed is the compound interest of like you just filling your life full of that new energy, which is who you really are. And suddenly you've created a life of who you really are. That is exactly what happened to me with Africa and stuff. So the context of all the charity work, so here's what it was, man. 14 to 21, suicidally depressed. At 21, it was fucked up time, obviously, and you know, I had the plans and everything on how I was going to kill myself, all that type of stuff. And finally, I asked the question that I really need to ask myself, which is, well, what can I do to make life worth living? And at the time, the answer that came to, I remember seeing like the billboard for donate blood, and it's like, if you donate blood, like you save 3 lives. I was like, man, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to make it as an aeronautical engineer, and maybe I'm not going to be successful with women, and maybe I'm not going to get the body. You know, I'm not going to be one of the cool
kids.
And
so when was this, like?
21.
21,
22. Yeah, 21, 22.
Yeah. And you're 31 now?
I'm 30.
30. Shit, my bad. I'm trying to add a couple of years. Motherfucker's getting old, bro. I'm trying to add a couple of years, you know?
Oh, man. I'm like, I opened this up with a thing for your birthday. So I'm like, nah, like, I'm 30 now. So at 21, I'm just like, I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to achieve all the dreams I had in my mind. But you know what? Like, if I can just keep myself alive to go donate blood, and at least it makes 3 other people like thing, that's worth it then.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then like obviously that felt good. So I'm like, all right, well, you know what? Like, don't worry about all these goals and whatever. I was watching Rocky at the time, and I was like, well, you know what I'll do? Like, I'll just keep myself fit and healthy. And going back to that thing I said about state management and changing your state, I didn't know it, but what I started to do was change my state. I started to just like get more into the gym, keep myself fit and healthy, eat better food, just surround myself with a lot of positivity, just so I would just be able to stay alive for the next 3 months, donate blood again, right? And it started like that. That's where the seed was planted. Before I knew it, a friend of mine goes to me, Dim, did you know, I remember I was at like, it was at Sydney Uni, it was like in the Wentworth Centre, or whatever the fuck that's called, and he goes to me, Dim, did you know that like, you could do this thing called volunteer travel? Shout out to Lawrence, he told me about this, and he goes, you can go overseas and you can like build an orphanage or something, you know, like, and you can have a holiday kind of like while you're doing it. And within 2 weeks of him telling me that, I had booked my tickets to Costa Rica, and I went to Costa Rica at the end of the year, and I was building an orphanage there. So what that looks like is like there's these volunteer volunteer travel companies. The one that I went through was called Eye to Eye. I think the UK version is called Real Gap, and the premise of it is you know, they set up the structure, they do the project management, they have all the supplies ready, they have your accommodation, they have your food all planned. So all you got to do is rock up, and then you go to the building site, and then you've got the local foreman, and he goes, all right, bro, what we're doing now is we're gonna like dig the things in the ground, and what we're gonna do, he guides you through the steps to do, so you don't need the technical experience. And then they feed you, they give you the accommodation, and then in the evenings you go bust a chill, drive around, you know, like Costa Rica on your scooter. Like, you know, on the weekends they take you out to like all the hot spots that but all the hidden routes that the tourists don't know. So it was this really wonderful experience. And when I got back, I was like, wow, that was so meaningful. Then at 23, I had been working in corporate for a few years, and I'm like, fuck, I hate this. You know what I need to do? I need to do something that like reminded me of like what was made me happy and what was meaningful. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do another volunteer travel thing. I went to Bali, and I built like a kindergarten in Ubud. Same thing. And then what happened was at 25 or 26, 25, I worked in corporate for 4 years, and I completed a project. I was a project manager. I completed a project that was supposed to be fucking impossible. Like, you know, like it was really meant for a very senior project manager. Somehow me and the boys, we pulled it off. And I remember thinking, dude, this is supposed to be a high point in someone's career. Like the fact that I did this when it was supposed to be impossible. Yeah. And everyone was giving me props about how much of a sick I was. But I was like, I got into work on that Monday, and for that whole day, I was not able to pick up a pen for that whole day, because I was just like, dude, that was so meaningless. I don't see any value in what we did, and I was like, wow, I'm in trouble. So I did two things that day. One was I booked sick leave. The other thing was I went on Airbnb and I booked a surf shack in the northern beaches. And I went to the northern beaches for a week in this surf shack, and all I was doing was like meditating, going in the beach, going in the water. And I came out of that like after just zenning out, and I knew like, and Sonny, who you know, my best friend, I was thinking about quitting my job at this time, and obviously my parents are going nuts, like everyone's just kind of going crazy, or they're just going silent because they're like, dude, what are you doing, like quitting your job, you don't have another job, what about your experience, like all of that stuff, right, like the whole mountain of it. And Sonny at that time told me exactly what I needed to hear. I was like, Sonny, like I don't know what to do, because like if I do this, I'm gonna lose piss away my experience, all that stuff. But if I do this, it's crazy. Like I quit my job, and Sonny goes, dude. Sonny pretty much told me off, and he goes, dude, since when have we ever been the type of people to really worry about what other people think? He goes, Dim, what do you want to do? And I'm like, dude, I want to go to Africa and build homes. You know, that was the only thing. Like given the history, at that time, that made sense. Which made no sense, but And then he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, that's what I want. And he goes, well, dude, listen to me. Make a decision, and you either do it or you don't do it. But shut the fuck up after this. He basically was just like, dude, make a decision either way and do it, but don't fucking complain anymore.
Bit of tough love.
And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I went home that day, and I told my parents were freaking out. I told my parents, I'm like, listen, I made my decision. I'm quitting my job, and I'm going to go to Africa. And is it all good?
Yeah, it's all good, bro.
Cool. Still recording?
Yeah, all good.
Cool.
No.
So I'm quitting my job, and I'm going to go to Africa. And I said, listen, if you want to kick me out of the house because I'm quitting my job, then fine, do what you need to, but I'm going to Africa. That's the end of the story. So either kick me out or you don't. And then they were like, well, we're not going to kick you out. So I'm like, no point complaining. You might as well just let me go through this process. Left my job, and I was in Kenya. I was building homes for 2 weeks there. Obviously, it's obviously very fulfilling, you know what I mean? You're in just like I knew we were going to a slum, but the slum in Kenya is the garbage dump, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a shanty town in the garbage dump, like literally the garbage dump. Like it's like the smell is unbelievable. You're everywhere around you see is just this barren wasteland of just piles of garbage, bro. Like I think the closest thing I've seen to it is in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
Like there's this bit where he's living in a garbage dump, and that's the closest thing. So I have a video of it, and I'm like,
so it's a particular area in Kenya.
So Nairobi's the capital. There's I think the third biggest city is called Nakuru. This is Nakuru's garbage dump. So that's where I was.
Oh boy, Rahul will be watching, so he's Kenyan, right? So make sure your facts are correct.
Rahul, check out Rahul knows what I'm talking about. He knows the area. I'm sure he would know the area. So I was in this the thing, and we built a bunch of homes, obviously really good, and then like I went from there to Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, and kind of east down to South Africa. I went away, and I came back 6 months later, and going back to what we were originally talking about, the end of that story is like I started applying for jobs, and 2 months went by, couldn't get any jobs, right? And then out of nowhere, a job came up. It was 120K, double my old salary, IT project manager job in a charity. On paper, it looked like everything I was after. But like gut feel is like, this is not for me, which is psycho. I went through the interview, they offered me the job, and I'm like, I'm going to turn it down. Parents are like, kidding me? After 2 months, you know? One of the worst things that ever happened was like, in that period, I was at the gym and I tried to turn the turnstile at the gym and it didn't turn. And I'm like, I turned to her, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she checks my thing and she's like, oh, dude, Dim, you haven't paid your membership. Of course, I didn't have any money, man. Credit card bounced. But she let me in, right? But I'm like, shit. I don't have fucking money to even pay for the gym right now.
You're trying to get in with Mr. Nice Guy.
I got in, right? But like not sustainable. But I got in that day. But the end of this story is, but I left. I turned down that job. A week went past, and another job came up, pretty much exactly the same. IT project manager, charity, 120K. But inside, I'm like, this is not it. And I'm like, oh my God, am I really going to turn it down again? And my parents are going nuts. And at this time, my friend Hashan told me a piece of, like, at this time, I heard also from a mentor, there is a chance of a job that they may create. And it was for family and community services, another New South Wales government department, doing this really lovely project management work. And it paid 200K, you know, but it's just a chance. So I called my friend Hashan and I said, dude, what do I do? This is crazy, you know, like, do I really turn down another one for this chance that I may get something else? And he goes, Hashan, he goes, Dim, listen, it's like the stocks that we're invested in. If shit goes wrong, you've got 20 grand invested, that 20 grand could get wasted. But you know what, man, even if you do lose 20 grand, you'll go back working for a while and you're going to make that 20 grand back. But if it goes the way we're thinking it will, you're going to get everything you ever wanted. And he was right. So I basically left, I turned down that job, I just took the leap of faith, and I landed that job that paid 200K. So I ended happy. But the why I say that story, like, I know you asked me about the Africa thing, but why I also tell that story is because what I started to do by choosing to go to Africa and choosing to do all that shit was I started to act on my own intent in a really big way. And I had 6 months off where I was just like really, really, really doing everything that I wanted to do, that I thought was right. So that's why when I got back, I could hear my inner voice so strong, like the compass was so strong, and I could hear my intuition because I had finally started to honor it. And by honoring it, it became louder and louder and louder, you know, and then that actually guided, then from that moment, I felt guided But the thing is, we've always been guided. Like that voice is always trying to talk to us. But the thing is, we don't listen to it enough. You know, we stuff it down because we're not confident in our own voice.
Yeah.
You know, but when you start to do it, it comes to the surface more. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, it's true, man. But do you ever find, like, I mean, going back to your business, right, and what you do, like, what are some of the difficulties, and do you ever kind of come across the fact that, man, like, you can't do that for the, you know, your clients and the people, like that, what they come to you for, and not being able to, I guess, you know, some of the terms you use, like break them or kind of get them to the point that they want to be. Because a lot of the things, as well as like off the back of just even experience, right? Not just with what you're doing. What I mean is, say someone is going through a specific thing.
Yes.
Like having someone who has that experience or whatever sometimes is valued much higher than, say, someone for you, like, who may have not gone through that, but your job is to help them overcome that hurdle, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, you may have not gone through that, but they are coming to you to help you, right? So what are some of the challenges you're facing, and what is it like? Does it really come down to that? Does that matter? Or is there a bigger picture as to, you know, as to being able to help them overcome, you know, the fears or whatever issues and hurdles they're going through?
Nice question, man.
Yeah.
I think there's infinite challenges with any, you know. Yeah, we'll always find this can be, if we perceive it, this can be a challenge. This can be a challenge. I think the key is, do they actually want to change? And I'm going to be real. That's my current limitation as a coach. Like I have seen, like someone like Tony Robbins. He knows how to push you in a way that even if you don't want to change, he can push you in a way so you do want to change. So he knows, he's at that level. At the level that I'm at now, like the people I work with are the people who want to change. Like the people who want to change, then even if I haven't had that specific experience, which in many cases, like often at times I've had enough that I can relate to it. Yeah. But if even if I haven't, still taking them through the process of helping them understand, and just having someone on
more like a guide, yeah,
you're a guide, and what you're doing is, when you're at that level, because what they often also need is someone who's at that level to fucking understand them and to fucking hear them, and who knows how to ask the right questions. Because really, I don't think coaching is effective if you just tell someone what to do. Like that person needs to come to their own insights, you know, and so like, so what that means is, like, as long as they want to change, that when they start to open up, right, and then I start to say, well, why did you choose to do that? They're like, oh, bang, bang, bang. Or go back in the route. They're like, oh fuck, basically because I've been hanging on this assumption that life is this way. Where I'm like, fuck, that's like a very limiting paradigm that you're in right now, you know, and that's probably what's caused it. You know, I asked them we start to break down, well, what are their values in life? And what order do they have their values? So, for example, Tony has 6 human needs. Love and connection, significance, growth, contribution, certainty, and variety. Those are the 6 needs. Everyone has their own order of what to stack them. But and most people aren't even conscious of it. But when you, like, you weave in, you know, into, like, what internally, like, for example, their needs are, and what priority they're putting in, and what they want, and others' needs really in the right order to get that. You know, like there's ways that you can still get it, as long as they want to change. If they don't want to change, it's hard.
That's the thing. I feel like it all really just starts with that. It just starts with, do you want to go down? You know, I think along the way, when things kind of, you know, all the things you kind of experience, and whether you manifest it or whether it just, you kind of, you know, it trods you along. You know, I always say, like, don't worry about the step 3 when you're at step 1, because sometimes just getting to step 2 will show you how to get to step 3.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like that's kind of what, like, I mean, when I meant earlier when we were chatting much earlier about the, you know, the process. You know, it's a very infectious thing to learn. That, hey, you know, I put in the hard work. Not to say that no one knows that, but I think when you put it into something that you genuinely love and you see the rewards behind it, it just proves to you that it's all in here, and it's all in here. It's that I was willing to put in the work. You know, like,
I'd love
not
for
to
you to
not to
more.
talk not to kind of talk up the last boxing fight or whatever, but it's just like it's more a inner story than anything. But I'll say what I mean. Along with everything going into that boxing fight, from going to a gym to, I asked Ricky to kind of take me under his wing and teach me the ropes, and so I knew who I valued very high off the bat in terms of to get me ready in 3 months or whatever it was. That was my goal, but I had the luxury of meeting all these different people along the way in my journey, through Next Level and and etc. So and shout out to Nate. He's the reason I went to. He's the one that took me to Next. None of this is possible without him. But anyway, going back to the story. So yeah, and then obviously I asked Rick, like, where do you think I should go train? And he gave me the gym that I ended up going and training at, and etc. So about a month, like I went through all your training and etc. Right, eating and all the processes you go through getting ready for a fight in 3 months. About a month out, and this is the first time I feel like genuinely it happened the way it happened. This is what I'm about to obviously say. But about a month out, I said it to two people. One was to my cousin, Harry, you met. Shout out to Full Guard, the owner of Full Guard, CEO, everything, and my wife Anusha. And I said, I have a feeling I'm gonna stop this guy. Right, like I'm gonna. It's gonna be a TKO. Like I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. Now this wasn't just a. It was fun. Like it's easy for me to say it, and for someone to think of it like in a bravado. It wasn't even a bravado. It's everything I know what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so no one else will know where that comes from. But I trusted the process. I knew that I had the right environment, and I knew that I had the right people to get me to where I wanted to be. But I knew I'll get there. That was the difference. So like from the first fight, like say when I've, and for those who are listening, like I don't do this as a profession. This is something I found along the way, and I never would have never even got into fighting if it wasn't for my, my mate Glenn, who was my first coach, who came up to me after 5 years of training. He goes, would you jump in the ring? And I said, yeah. I just never thought about it. I got the push.
Wow.
But then that was the beginning. That's when I was like, oh, I love this whole idea of, But it was never a full-time thing. It was never something that I wanted to get into. It's something that I enjoyed, and it was a challenge, and I learned something new every single time I went to the ring and came out about myself. But I just loved the fact that you got to put it all out there, for the whole world to see, kind of thing, and I like that. It's like, but anyway, so like a month out, both those people, I told them, and I said, man, I have a feeling like I'm going to stop it. I don't know when, but, I feel fit. This is the best I felt. I was doing Qigong and Winhof, and shout out again to Dan, and I just felt one with myself, like you said, center. I felt it's not about all the things that I'm doing being successful. It's that, are you who you are first? Like fuck everything else. Are you who you want to be as a person? Because we make, like you said, going back to earlier, like just all the decisions you make, or when you fucked up and you made bad choices, you let that eat you up. And that's what happened to me for a long time. You let it eat you up, and then your choices and your decisions you make from down on in, on the back of all these things that are in your head, that you look back, it's irrelevant. It's so tiny. It's like I don't even think about it. That's how irrelevant. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But I'm talking, but I just felt one. I felt like I was doing everything I needed to, but I felt confident that I'm ready. Like, you know what I mean? That I'm gonna put on my best show.
Wow.
And that was one of the things and that's why when the fight happened, I did stop in the second round. Like, as everyone who was there saw me screaming, it wasn't like, that yelling. And me and Ricky always laugh about it. There was spit on
I was at the front row.
Yeah, you're front row,
yeah. I think I caught some of that spit.
I had spit underneath my lip and shit, and he was laughing. He's like, bro, you're like a mongrel in there. But that it was like this, like I've never experienced manifesting something, being so confident that I'm gonna do it, and then go out and do it like that. And that's why I lost my shit after, because to other people, they'll never understand. For me, 3 months, 3.5 months, forget that, kickboxing background. Boxing's, it's its whole own entity. But to like manifest and know that you can do this and do it.
Yeah.
That was the trigger point. That taught me that, dude, if you really love something, you just got to put in the work.
Yes.
That's
Dude,
it.
I think
you know? And,
we talk about like this manifestation and all that stuff, and it loses people. But here's my experience of it. You have the unmanifested world, whatever that is, right? And then you have the manifested world that we live in, right? The key, the passage that the unmanifested energy, like how you manifest them, how you create a reality like you did. The key to doing that, the passage that it comes from the unmanifested to the manifested, that passage is process, is trusting the process, is doing the work. Yeah. Like that's how it comes. Yeah.
And that's what I learned. And as soon as I felt that, like I always knew that, but it's funny, like it's crazy because like I felt like you answered a question that I always thought, not that it's like I always knew that, but like you said, compound effect.
It
just got to a point that it's like you're lying to yourself if you don't see that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, brother. Like, you know, like
everyone can see it.
Like, you know, it's simple. It's like, dude, find something you love. You know, and this is something I've always loved, but just I never, you know, I guess had the resources of the platform. But the difference is that I think I needed a direction. And it's funny, all this time I was collecting all these like relationships and all these things that have come back full circle now, and it's just with a phone call, they're like, you know what I mean?
Suddenly it comes together.
And that's what that was my first thing, was like, I'm going to the people that I've made friends with along the way, that I genuinely care about, you know what I mean?
And so am I.
And but it's crazy, man. It's
like,
crazy.
And on that point, Jay, like I would say, like to someone at home who's watching, who maybe is like starting on this journey, it was by, I think, exactly what you just said, which is just starting with what you loved and starting to do it. Like, because yes, you didn't know how to create the studio and all that stuff, right? But you started to develop, like the pieces didn't come together, but you started to develop them one at a time. You know what I mean? It turned out the last piece was the studio. But then when it came time for you to make the studio, you're like, oh dude, it's not that hard to make a studio. You know? And then suddenly the whole package is together.
I think it's just even like you're trying to get to the best possible position of whatever you're doing, right? But I think you need to, what I've realized, you got to learn, you got to earn the right. So for example, like, you know, having the mics and, you know, quality and all this stuff, right? I want all that, right? I could go probably work for 1 year hard and then get all that and then whatever. But I know that doing this and being genuine and just, you know, and just keep, the time will come when I have to. So I'm not thinking about where I want to be at that point now. I know that I just got to keep working and keep doing what I'm trying to do, and it'll build to that, instead of putting a timeline or by the time I'm 40 I better be, you know what I mean? It's like in my head I just know where I'm going, and it's just, okay, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? And before you know it, it's an interesting book online. Man, I'm heavy on the audiobooks now.
What's the book we're talking about?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, dude! Can I just give me a sec? I'll write down. Because someone mentioned it to me before, and I have a Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. But it just talks about that. It just talks about the little things that you got to do for it to amount to being a bigger and better thing, you know, a better situation or whatever it is. So, but I think, you know, that's what people. I think, you know, not even just people. I think that's what personally, my experience, I think that's what I realized, was that everything's just a process, man. You can't want the kingdom without, you know what I mean, without working for it and earning the right to be able to have all that, you know. But it's not even in that sense of mind. It's that, for me, even just now, it's quality. It's how do I spend my day and my life? How do I get the best version of myself? That doesn't need to mean what I have, what it was like. Do I feel accomplished? Like, for example, doing one podcast or all the other things that I've been doing. It's almost like 10 steps ahead instead of 1 step ahead.
Dude, I'd love
to
ask you a question.
It's just like the accomplishment and the satisfaction. Like, it's funny, I work the same hours, if not more, in the day. I just do it the way I want to do it. You know, I'll piss off for a couple of hours. I'll come back because I need to get away from the computer, and you know what I mean? But
I would love to hear more about that, because here's what I'm recognizing, and I'm asking you as a friend, because I'd love to know, because it's going to benefit me. Like, at this juncture of my life, like fuck me, I'm working hard, right? Like, but it's in our nature to be hard workers, right? No matter where we're at. But I'm definitely working hard now, and I realize because I am like I'm doing a lot of giving, you know, which is like, you know, I'm coaching. You know, I've got obviously want to be the best I can be with my girlfriend, the best I can be with my family, with my friends, like doing a lot of giving. And for me, at this juncture, like I'm realizing how important, even how more important, like state management is, or how to just like center into yourself so that you're like what you're using to give is your like you have to like your cup has to be full, and it's what's overrunning from the cup. That is what is given to others, but your cup has to be full first. And I'd love to hear about like what you do to make your cup full. And you know, and what those routines and processes are, or whatever, like every day or every week, that you keep yourself in a grace.
Yeah, I don't know if I achieve that feeling every day. I don't think I think I'll always be pushing, like, you know what I mean? But I think I can. I think it's just a matter of knowing, like, one of the hardest things, obviously, and any person that's been in corporate and then gone to be doing something, you know, like entrepreneurial or try to build their own business will know that you're so used to a routine. Then it's like you got all this time, right? And it's like that was killing me. And then my wife would be like, and then she'll be like, you know, dude, you've been working for a long time. Like, and that was part of it. Was just like I felt aged in my head because it was like, you know, I felt like I'd lived a lifetime. That's how I felt, you know what I mean? That's what I was like, man, like I feel like I'm ready to, you know, you know, but and I'm nowhere near, I'm nowhere near retirement, right? You know, like, but yeah, like, but I know that I know everything just takes time. I think the hardest thing was just like, how do I keep myself busy when I'm not, you know? But one of the things it's allowed me to do now is that if I'm not working on something, I'm trying to pick up other habits that I probably wouldn't have able to have. So like, you know, trying to read books and, you know what I mean? And keep just building my knowledge. Because like, I was never like, you know, the model student in high school, whatever. Like, I never attained, but now I'm craving knowledge. I'm at a stage in my life where I'm craving knowledge, but it's knowledge that I'm going out wanting to, you know, to get information on.
It's relevant.
So that's relevant. Exactly. I got the motivation to go out there and, you know what I mean, and read for myself, or learn for myself. But man, like I said, it's just things like, you know, things like yoga, meditation, all these things. It's funny, man. I don't even look at life as a day anymore. Like, I just look at it as what have I accomplished in a week. You know, because I feel like that's what my life's become like. So like, you know, it's funny, like Monday, Tuesdays, I like to chill the fuck out. You know? So like, you know, Mondays I might chill the fuck out, and then, you know, like the weekends I might be busy because it's just with me now kind of building my own, you know, business, and it's not Monday to Friday type style. But I think
beautiful. Gosh.
But I like, if I just accomplish, like, say for example, like doing a video, editing a video, or putting all these things together, that might take 2 days of the week, or even.
But then you're going to go super hard for those 2 days. I know you'll be like at midnight or whatever, texting me.
Like, but even that, you know, the documentary we shot last week, you know, for women, the women of next. Coming soon. You know, like, just what I felt that day afterwards, like, I don't think, like, unless you are someone who walked that same journey would understand. And I remember getting in the car and I told Anisha, I'm like, for the rest of the day, nothing negative, no negative thought, nothing, because we've got to experience and do something that, you know, I've always dreamt of doing. And it was just a thought and an idea, and it took a year and a half, but I kept thinking about it. I kept thinking this can be done, and it took almost 2 years, maybe all up, to get to this point. But we got here, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, but then the next 2 days, I was like, I didn't think, what am I going to do next? I sat down and just enjoyed that moment, because I know there's way more work coming. But one thing I've taught myself is, if you just keep working like that, you're working the same routine you worked before when you're in corporate.
I'm going even harder than corporate, but I'm just like, damn, man.
But I think it's also depending on what you do. Like, what I guess people got to understand is, when you're doing something creative, it may not seem like nothing, but you're thinking about it day and night mentally.
Yeah, it takes.
You know what I mean?
Takes
And
a minute
then
for it
the
to,
whole process, putting the whole process together. You know, that's what I mean. You might take over 3 days, but it feels like you've been working 6 days.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because you're actually working.
But it's the whole but your life is more about having a thought and an idea, and then creating this idea, and then being able to bring it to life. That's a long process. That doesn't start in a week, or that doesn't, you know, that goes on for a long time. There'll be things that I'm still thinking about a year ago that I may not be able to achieve till another year or year after. You know what I mean? So it's just more about not always feeling like, because the battle was, am I utilizing my time? But I am, because I'm doing what I want to do. It's just not the way it was always, like, it wasn't that pattern of,
Dude, I'm benefiting so much from
getting up in the morning and then just boom working, you know what I mean? And then Tuesday getting up in the morning, boom working. Nah, it's a matter of it. I don't look at it as how many hours did I spend on it. No, it's that this is what I need to get done, and things may happen at different stages of the week or month or whatever. But appreciate it when it happens, because it's not about what am I doing today? What am I, it's these things take time. But that's why in this industry or whatever it is, if you do really well and you get it up to a mainstream, people get paid really well or whatever, because it's not just a matter of an idea, there's so much that comes into it. So that's something that I battle, but that's why, like, with spare time, I'm trying to just kind of keep educating myself, learning new things, reading books, about, different topics, and even things that I'm doing, trying to find, find things to keep, kind of stimulating me and, getting my knowledge up and stuff.
Thank you, man. Thanks for saying that. I really benefit from that.
The reason I say that, bro, is because, like, like I said, take away work. This is what I realized. Like, you add training, and you know me, like, I loved training. So you think, like, from 6, and I'm not trying to obviously complain or anything about about what my day was like. What I mean is, just straight after work, you're going straight to training, then you're coming home, then you got a family, like you said, you got to give time for everything, you know what I mean? So it's like where do you fit in what it is that you're trying to, you know what I mean? If it's not work, where do you fit it in? And I realize I'm actually not utilizing the time that I'm earning, where I'm going to earn all the money. That's the time that I feel like I'm actually not utilizing the most. Finding enough, that 8 to 4 or whatever. I felt like that's when I'm daydreaming about what I could be doing or what I want to do. You get what I'm saying? But when I'm in training, or when I'm out on myself, you know what I mean? I'm in training, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm there, and I love the process. I love going to training, seeing everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I come out driving home, fucking feel like amazing, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what a day.
Oh man, because here's like one of the things that I was taking from that as you were talking was like. You know what I mean by metaframe? So it's just like, what's like the greater perspective we have on a situation? So I feel like when you were talking, like, the greater perspective that you had on the situation was, one, you're looking at it from a weak view.
Yeah.
You're looking at it from a weak view, and you're just thinking about, like, for example, what do I want to get done this week? Right? And you weren't, see, for me, a mistake I think I was making was, like, I was expecting my workday, now that I'm on my own terms, to be the same as a workday at PwC or whatever. And then I was wondering why I'm burning out again. Not burning out, but nearing the red line. I'm like, why am I doing that? And that's why I even asked the question, Jana, like, what are the protocols that you use and all this stuff? That's where it came from, right? But the thing is, you've recognized, I think, that you don't have to put the same expectation on yourself that you did at RMS or where you were, like, to now. And for you now, you can just look at the frame of the week and go, well, I can chill the fuck out.
Because it's not a lack of, I'm not working hard enough. It's that, well, I'm doing specific things. So for me, it's like, how do I get that done? Some things may not be able to get done on that day. And you might have to wait till the next day. But if you don't have anything else on, like, obviously you're gonna get more busy, which goes to my next question. Even though you're busy and you're doing something you love, like, being busy is irrelevant to you. It's like, I need to get it done. And that's a point that I will get to. Where things you like multiple things and whatever. And I want to anyway. So when that point comes, obviously it's going to get more busy. This is just how it is now. But what I mean is, I try to appreciate each little thing that I'm doing. I look at it as a whole process, and sometimes the whole process may not be every day working at it. It might be a couple of days, whatever, but you just got to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because it does take a lot out of you mentally just even thinking about it.
That's
what it goes back. Everything goes back to what I'm saying, mental clutter, because just having that in your head can wear you out. And then you go and you do yoga or meditation or you train, come out you're thinking, nah, I got this.
Thanks, man.
You know what I mean?
Great.
I got
Thanks,
this,
man.
and that's not coincidence. That's because you're allowing yourself to just get to that frame of mind and just really slowing things down and thinking of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? So, even just this podcast, like I didn't talk to you about this a couple of months ago. I talked to you about this for a very long time, wanting to do all these things. So, you know what I mean?
So that's it for it to come together.
Yeah, to put it together, and and then obviously just having the confidence that you can get it done, and you know what I mean. Things will progress. If you're worrying too much about I wanted to be elite, you're not gonna enjoy these moments. You know what I mean? And you just got to. I feel like you got to earn the right to have those things. You can't just sit here and expect it or whatever. You got to earn the right. You know what I mean? But I think that fear of not being able to achieve it is the difference between someone getting on that journey and going and saying, "This is easier." Like this is because you know what's expected. With things like this, you don't know. You know what I mean?
You're in the fucking jungle.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I'm in the jungle.
Yeah. And that's why I'm not trying to. That's why I was like, I can't. As much as I want to, this is what I'm trying to build. It's got to be more than that, because if all this doesn't work out and all these things don't become successful, I still got to be sure that that I still want to be the best version of myself. But you don't know, by the time that comes, God knows how many doors have opened and how many different things could come around. You know what I mean? But in order to experience that, you got to go on the journey first. You can't just sit there and premeditate and see, is this safe or is this safe? Or,
no,
you know what I mean? Sessions are, I'm spreading the word, man.
Thanks,
I'm spreading the word, and I really believe in it, and I think it'll be good. It'll be good for a lot of people to experience that. So
they're very welcome.
And I wish you the best, man.
Thanks, Jay.
Cheers, bro.